Oh, I see him. I can move him over.
Hello. How is it possible that I was not a panelist?
No idea.
I'm like the chief panelist.
Do you know what will be great though is that I changed the settings so that everybody who is an attendee should get a thank you for attending message from Zoom. So now
Oh,
we'll be able to see it because I don't know if it goes to panelists or if it goes to attendees. So thanks for being the test case.
wow. Amazing. Well, honor to serve. Let's begin. We have a huge agenda and a hard stop at 7, which I think nobody will mind. Um, Mr. Fay, will you please call the roll?
Sorry, you calling us to order at 6:03?
I'm calling us to order at 6:03.
Fabulous. Roll call. Barrio,
Here.
Commissioner Sycamore, Commissioner Lemon Strauss, Commissioner Kensick,
Present.
Commissioner Chair Trindade Duramo,
Present.
Commissioner Holden,
Here.
Vice Chair Harris,
Here.
and Commissioner Hanrahan. Okay, and then of course Commissioner Fay is here.
Wait a second. Wait a second. I realized I have committed the terribly insulting faux pas of not putting Christian in the roll call table, which I will rectify for
Oh,
next time. He is
ZPD Chair Brandt.
here.
All right,
Great.
perfect.
He's a fully fledged member with a vote and all. Wonderful. So I think that's 7 of 10 present, if my count is correct. So we've got quorum. We can proceed. Expeditiously today, as I said, if you don't mind keeping your remarks short, that would be lovely. Oh, Commissioner Hanrahan has joined us.
Hello.
Nice to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Announcements, very quick. As we discussed last month, our June 5th meeting will be hybrid. I got confirmation from HFA. It'll be a party once again. We'll talk about pizza in a minute. Please be there. It always works better in person. Second announcement, just to make sure everyone is aware, in a very sudden turn of events, the leadership at the NPD's third district changed about 2 weeks ago. Commander Pulliam is no longer the commander for the third district. We have Commander Connors now, and Francois and Matt and I are working on making an initial approach to the new commander. I know, Matt, you had some contact with him regarding some Ledroit stuff. I don't know if there's anything you want to add really quickly. Sean Connors, new
No, I mean,
commander.
I'll add only a couple of comments, and the first is that he had a chance to join a meeting that he had already scheduled with Anthony Robertson from the mayor's office. He is working very hard. The commander is to get scrubbed into all of the issues. He is meeting with lots of different folks to make sure that he has a chance to come up to speed quickly. He seems to be very thoughtful. He kind of like Commander Pulliam is rolling up his sleeves right away. We had a couple of issues actually at 7th and T as we were meeting, and he called his team and had things taken care of right away, and was also very responsive over the weekend with some issues we had in Ledroit. So I am going to miss Commander Pulliam a great deal while he is not with us, but Commander Connor seems to be up to the task, and I'm looking forward to all of us having a chance to work with him.
Hey, hope we can say a quick hello. I emailed you a couple days ago asking if you thought maybe it'd be appropriate for him to stop by next week to our commission meeting, or might be a little too quick for him. So we'll keep talking about it and see what's appropriate.
That sounds good.
Cool. Okay, on to the agenda. Items of note, we do have a guest speaker. It is Councilmember Nadeau. It is her traditional visit to talk about the budget process and her priorities. Now, hopefully, well-timed for the budget process going on in council. So we look forward to that. And we have already booked Director Musali for the July meeting as our guest speaker, which I think will be welcome to all. We all have lots of questions about ABCO-related matters all the time, but especially in the season. So that'll be great. Business from the executive committee. We have to do, just for everyone's awareness, there'll be a vote on the agenda next week. We have to rectify the way that we are paying the technical support team to do our hybrid meetings. OANC originally thought they could just pay them directly. Turns out they can't. They have to reimburse us for paying the vendor. So we'll have to do a vote on Thursday night to authorize payments to the vendor, and OANC will reimburse them. Just a quick technicality there, really. Actually, Aaron, let's you and I put our heads together on exactly how to word that so it passes muster.
Yeah, I'll just get Don to tell us the words and then we can pass the words.
Even better. Love that. Thank you. Second item will be the authorization of the expense for the nominal refreshments at the meetings. We had pizza last time. I think it's nice to offer a little something to people who come and attend the meeting. The statutory limit is $100. As Commissioner Barrio is very well aware, he had to spend $99.99, hence the cans of Coke. But it worked out really well, actually. Was happy to have it. Would like to keep doing it. So we will have a quick vote to authorize those expenses for the 2 remaining in-person meetings that we expect to have this calendar year. Any questions before we move on?
What are we having for food this week?
What are we having for food? Well, Francois does not want to be, but he now is holding permanently the what should we order portfolio. Although I told him he doesn't always have to be the one to pick it up. And we could rotate around, but Andy's Pizza is around the back of the block. It's very easy. So if you can beat that, we'll do it. But it does seem to be the quickest, simplest, and most bang for buck. So that said, maybe a 2-liter of soda though instead of the cans. Let's see what I can do.
Afford it.
Oh, wow.
I don't think you can. I don't think they have liters. Is the thing.
Can we get a topping, like just one topping on the pizza?
We're kind of close. I mean, I think if we went to a store beforehand, we could get it, but it's not. They don't sell the liters at Andy's Pizza.
Right.
Thing.
Okay. We'll coordinate. I'll find someone to be tribute this time around to pick up stuff. All right. Committee business. Minutes check. If you have not sent your minutes, please do as of yesterday to Karen and Raisa. I saw several of them come in last night. Thank you guys very much. And of
Can
course,
I just add to that, which is if you
Yeah.
can copy me on them, that helps me a ton.
Oh, yeah.
Because then I'm not having to go find them, and then I need them in Word because I basically take all your minutes and copy and paste them into the full packet. So if you don't mind just sending me the Word versions, that makes my life a lot easier.
Cool. And Matt has an email out about that earlier today, also asking for the items that you'd like printed on the agenda in your committee reports section for next week. So please do that today so we can have the draft agenda out tomorrow. All right. Anticipated new business items. There are many, but once again, this is just mostly an FYI session. So, Stephen, do you want to let us know what's coming up in terms of ABCR protests?
Yes. Actually, is it possible? Could you move me
I can.
or something? Sorry, I'm just a little late and not ready.
Matthew's always ready. So let's talk about this whole slate of TPPS activity.
Sorry, guys, there's a lot this month from transportation. 2 of them are more simple. Hopefully, they're just letters of support. One is for there's a public EV charger pilot. There's 2 chargers being installed at locations, 1 set in each ward. So it's like 2 spaces in each ward. The Ward 1 space happens to be at 1806 9th Street Northwest in our ANC. It's like a partnership with like the property owner and like DDOT. So they basically just need like a public space sign off because the use of the curb is changing slightly. It'll still be RPP spaces. So the RPP zone 1 rules still apply, but you'll only be able to park there if you're actively charging the vehicle. So the committee voted to write a letter of support. It'll be like basically just a transmittal letter of that support. And if it's popular and works, they might be popping up in more locations eventually after the pilot. I don't know how long the pilot period is going to be. We could try to find that out. The company doing it, it's called It's Electric, and they've been pretty responsive. So if people have more questions, we can probably get more answers. So that's that one. The second item is a letter of support for a parking change proposal in front of the Grimke School / African American Civil War Museum. It's for the spaces like right in front of the building. The ANC supported the same proposal in 2022. Basically, there are RPP spots now, and they're going to be changing if DDOT signs off on the plan to be museum parking from 8 to 8, and then RPP parking after 8 until midnight, or I forget, like it's like going to be more hours than the regular RPP. Like some RPP ends at like 10 p.m. or 1 a.m. or something. This is like 8 to 8 RPP, 8 to 8 museum, something like that. The museum came and presented on the proposal. And this is going to be a similar, there was no opposition at the meeting. So this would just be a similar letter of support for that proposal. And I'll send around like the diagram just so people are aware of like exactly the change, but it's like 9 spaces in front of the building. So then there was also the third item is a resolution in support of Council Bill 260057, the Motor Vehicle Insurance Modernization Act. This was something that was brought by one of the committee members, and is a current bill that's been introduced a couple times but hasn't ever like gone for a vote. And it would increase, basically the short version. There's a lot of whereas clauses in the resolution, so hopefully that would give you some background. But the short version is the amount of liability insurance drivers in DC have been required to hold hasn't been updated since the 80s. But cars are bigger and more expensive and causing more damage because they're bigger. So this is an ask to raise the amount that people are required to cover. It's very similar to a Virginia bill that passed, I think, last session in the General Assembly there. So that's that one. This one was more a split vote, but did pass. So I see Commissioner Kinzek has his hand raised.
Yeah, for the last thing we are discussing in regards to the museum, we've talked to the people that live in that area, and they've had no issue with losing the 9 parking spots till 8 p.m.
So they were invited to the meeting. There was some email traffic where some neighbors raised it as an issue, and it's Francois' district, so he's had more conversations with neighbors too, if he would like to elaborate. So some people did raise concerns about it, but kind of my feeling and the committee's feeling is that the spaces are only directly in front of the museum. They're in front of basically a commercial use. They're not in front of residential properties. So from my perspective, it doesn't really make sense that would be solely RPP spaces anyway.
Well, yeah, that does make sense what you're saying, but at the same time, the people drive around sometimes that live on 16th Street or 15th Street, and they park on Belmont or 14th because they don't have enough parking in the city. I believe our good old council member said once before, we build more parking spots, people buy more cars. But with that said, I do think that's something. 9 spots a lot till 8 p.m., especially people that have handicaps that do live in the area. So I'd be interested to hear what the neighbors immediately to the left and right of the museum feel about that, and if they've even gotten notice, because some people don't have emails, as we've discussed before. People don't have communication in a lot of ways. So if we've given any notice at all in terms of Raina or anyone sending out any type of anything to the neighbors in writing and something in letter form, so they have the opportunity to discuss it and then be able to voice their concerns, so we can make a judgment not based on what we feel as commissioners makes a difference or not in front of a museum, but what the people that live in the area makes a difference or not. That's what I think would make sense.
I think that's a fair point, Commissioner Kenzik. I know that, some of the neighbors have been involved, like Matthew said, so they are aware, but I can send out an email to the Westminster listserv that some people in Vermont are on. I know that not everybody is on that. I've been working to try to create a larger listserv with everyone in my area, but I haven't had as much time to invest in getting every single person's email address on that. Yeah, so I will send out a notice to let them know that we're discussing it at our upcoming meeting, so that the folks that receive those emails will At the same time, I do think that, like Commissioner Holden said, the spots are in front of the museum. They historically were museum parking in the past, and they were sort of transferred over to residential parking in the interim. And so now they're being returned to museum parking. They would also be available on the weekends to residents as well as after 8 p.m. So it's not, a complete loss of those spots at all times.
Understood. Thank you.
Great. So then, what was that? So then, item D is a resolution in support of capital bike share operations. This came from our chair, our illustrious chair. He suggested the idea, and then we kind of workshopped a resolution together, and basically just given budget challenges, and also that bike share has become an essential mode of transportation in the district and is continuing to grow month over month. We just want to make sure that the city continues to invest in not just expansion and capital, but daily maintenance and operation of the system, kind of meaning making sure there's workable bikes, workable stations, but also that there's available bikes and stations. Often the balance of spots to spaces is kind of off, especially as we've returned to like kind of traditional commuting patterns. Our neighborhood will be full in the morning, but then everyone commutes downtown, and then it's empty the rest of the day, and then at the evening gets full. So just encouraging them to figure out better ways to balance high ridership areas is kind of the gist of it. And
I don't think we've connected specifically on sending that to 2B and 2F. We talked about it at the very beginning, but now that it's passed, I guess next week we can send it around to them.
If we felt comfortable with, I could share them since it's passed the committee and just give them a heads up that we're going to be considering it next week.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just because the budget's coming up and the transportation committee hearing in council is
very soon.
Very soon, whatever the email I sent you yesterday. So let's do it if they're interested in picking it up. The thinking there being that we and our two neighbors, 2B and 2F, have 3 of the busiest bike share stations in the whole network, and so we're often empty from overuse. So
yeah, I've gotten complaints from people, and I experience this all the time as well. I'm curious how much can be done. I'm sure we're not the first ones to complain about this. Yeah.
You can email Greg Matlaski every couple of weeks, like I did for a year, and then your bike station will be upgraded, as ours
Really?
just was in my SMD, which is truly amazing.
Upgraded with more
But
bikes or with more service to replace the bikes?
yeah, more docks, and it's also the newer model, which is more compact, so you can fit more docks per square foot of length or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, this resolution is not for the capital budget, which would pay for new equipment, but for the operations budget, which is a bit more tenuous. But that we are aiming at sort of the rebalancing. That's a staff issue. How many rebalancers are running around the city in the vans, and also the way that they do it. So it's an attempt.
And then the last item I just have as a heads up, because we did get a notice of intent for the U Street performance parking project that has a deadline in July. So we'll consider our comments at the July meeting, but basically they've rolled it out to like the initial set of blocks. And so they're proposing to put performance parking on additional blocks. They are not changing the boundary of the U Street like project area, but expanding it to blocks where they hadn't implemented the like dynamic pricing and the signs and things like that. So just expanding the number of blocks. But I've asked the project manager to come to the June committee and kind of like present on the expansion, but also kind of give us a status update on like what is going on with the project, what challenges or interesting things, hopefully, they're experiencing, hopefully some positives as well. So I think if people are interested in that, commissioners, but also the community, to attend that meeting, since it is like a high profile project in the neighborhood. Yeah. And that is it.
Okay. Any questions? Very good. Quick note, I will have also a resolution on the floor next week, which is in support of the Fair Housing Practices Amendment Act, which would prohibit housing providers from assessing separate fees to cover utilities in common spaces of buildings, which has become a junk fee that many of the large housing providers are using to just make money. Assessing sort of disproportionate fees for that alleged service. ZPD considered it. Anything you want to add, Christian, or that was pretty easy? Okay. The Housing Committee and Council had a hearing on it today. I was like 700th in line to testify on it, so I was not able, but it'll be nice to send this resolution if we pass it next week. Okie doke. That's it from committees, unless anyone else has anything surprising.
Oh, I have committee.
Oh,
Chris.
sorry. We just go back to you. Wow, I was like, we're making such a good time. Let's ruin that. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, no, I just had it up and now I don't. So the first one actually was on the bottom of the list for half smoke. We the committee voted to protest 4 placards. Half smoke we could talk about that. They're going out of business. But we voted to protest anyway based on a written statement by one of our committee members, Rachel Scheckman. So I guess protest, but they also might just not be in business anymore. So that's that one. Then the other one was Catherine Dew. The business owner was there. She was really, really nice. We actually asked for an extension for them. So I'm hoping to draft a settlement agreement with them. And it's a very small restaurant. Shouldn't raise any flags, but just want to get a settlement agreement with them. The other 2 were a little bit more hot topic items. Would love to kind of poll the group. Lifted essentials. I think there was a draft letter from Aaron's district trying to protest that wants to protest lifted. There were some folks at the meeting last night who were putting some stuff in the Q&A about that it was close to a daycare and they were from the daycare childcare. There was like a thread with Sarah from ABCA where they were trying to say this shouldn't even be allowed because it's within 400 feet of a daycare, but then ABCA was like, you're a childcare. I don't know if that counts as a daycare. I don't know exactly how to read that thread. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Someone.
Yeah, my read of the conversations with neighbors there is that it is actually being driven by a resident who is nearby and who has worked with the child care center to lodge the protest, which is not to in any way say that that's not valid or not appropriate. Just that seems to be the dynamic, and the resident is driving that. We worked pretty closely actually with ABCA. They were very nice to help get the letter like as conforming as possible. But ABCA did flag the challenges with the letter as like the sort of grounds and the basis for it. So
Yeah.
There's a hand from Sable there. Sable, do you have a question?
Sorry, I can wait. I was just going to comment on Half Smoke. And
Oh.
then, Stephen, I got your emails about Kathmandu. I can work on a settlement agreement with them so we can get that going.
Yay. Cool. Yeah, they seem really nice. So, and I like reached out to them to try and like extend the deadline and they like were doing that. So I would love if we could try to not have to like make them go to roll call or something like that.
Just keep in mind, roll call is just a standard procedure. So unless they're paying for an attorney, which like is understandable, but like keep in mind that it's very standard. It's just to say that we're here. There's no like extenuating circumstances. So I will do my best. I'm working on 1351, but yeah, I'll get it going.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So for lifted, we recommended to protest, I guess maybe together with the daycare or it's just that's ANC in and of itself. The owner, I sent them the link in advance. they had some trouble maybe with it. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, we missed them. They didn't make it to the meeting, their representatives. So we could have them come to the commission meeting.
Wait, sorry, is this the daycare on 14th and V? Or is this another daycare? Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. You should advise, I don't think the daycare can protest, but as like a group of, they need like 5 individuals. I'm not sure if they can protest like unless they are right next door. So if they're across.
Yeah, the sort of core process challenge here is that their claim is that the dispensary should not be allowed because of sort of a statutory ban on where dispensaries go. And so the applicant person sort of several times was like, look, your concern is not protest related. It's like you're making a claim that this should not be allowed at all, but your claim doesn't seem to be valid. So you're welcome to protest, but that's a different thing. Anyway,
Well, I think what I'm trying to say is that like if they do want to protest, they need to do it in a valid way of a group of 5, like the actual, so we can find out what those terms are. I will say though, Sarah is right in that like there's they have no legal grounds because one, it's not a dispensary, it's a medical marijuana shop. And I get it. Like I get that it's a very tricky scenario because it's a preschool, but like the only legal claims is like a tobacco shop right now that can't be within the vicinity of a school. It doesn't matter like if it's a bar, and it doesn't matter if it's a medical marijuana shop. So none of that regulation is in place. So we should go back to them with the standards of this is who can protest this and this is how you fit in that, but they can only protest within those grounds. They can't, and I think it's the understanding that like we're not gonna get this business shut down. Like that's not the grounds of a protest.
Yeah, that's the other sort of problem is it's not sort of clear exactly what the settlement agreement would be because their ask is not, there isn't like hours restrictions. Like they just don't want the business there. So it's not clear. Anyway, I'm game to protest it. I think the residents will be happy with that. I'm just not sure if it came down to like negotiating with the business. I'm not sure what they would even want us to ask for.
You could do like an hour, and I'll make this quick, but you could do like a restriction on hours and making sure that maybe they're not operating when the preschool is in session. I know that's hard because the preschool is probably in session a lot, but that might be doable.
So there's no other objective? Like
Their
there's nothing else
objective
to negotiate about?
Their objective is very clear that they just don't want the business there. So that's why that's why I didn't raise this because to me it just feels like obviously they're welcome to do whatever they want, but for me where I'm sitting, it feels like it's a valid business that's gone through the valid business process, and you know, residents who want to protest or write letters that may or may not be valid are obviously welcome to, and I was trying to help them get it as valid and as they can because it felt like that was something I should do, but it doesn't feel like from my perspective, it doesn't feel like the ANC should be putting much of our own effort or time into this.
Yeah, even the grounds for protest, I guess, would feel a little bit tenuous, right? Like, what were the grounds on this one? Or just peace order, I assume.
Yeah, peace, order, and quiet. I mean, I think the committee's general take, and especially for cannabis, is to protest a new one, to at least have a settlement agreement on file.
Actually, they can't even protest. Only the ANC. Sorry, I completely forgot about this. But for any medical marijuana, only ANCs can protest. There's no group of 5. No one can protest except the ANC.
Okay. Well, if anyone wants me to invite the business owner to the commission meeting, give them a chance to speak. Maybe
I think that'd be valuable just just like constituent service. Like I feel like we've got these constituents who have concerns. I think if we are in a position to invite the business owner to have to make sure that they are hearing those concerns and responding to those concerns, like that to me feels like good constituent service, and then if that's that, and but that feels like, to me, that feels good and responsive to the constituents.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. We plan on that. You can send them, or Karen, if you want to help facilitate just the Zoom instructions. Oh, if they can come in person, that'd be fun.
And then the last one, I know we're taking up some time, was another business who is applying for a 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Hours of operation change. The name is the Chicha Lounge. There was a lot of discussion about the community feeling like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. is too much of a is not ideal and not something they really want. Residents really didn't seem like they wanted that. People who live by right next to bars. Was actually had a phone conversation with the gentleman today. Yeah, it might be just like kind of a larger conversation about what is the ANC's kind of strategy here with that. He also said he said he missed the meeting, unfortunately. But I said he could also attend the commission meeting. So he said he might be doing that because he asked specifically, he said is there a meeting to just kind of discuss this and maybe he can hear some of the direct concerns from residents. Unfortunately, he missed the committee meeting. But
So you don't have a sense, like, I guess that means
Sorry,
in terms of like
it's in
his
my
business, like what's his business plan in between 3 and 6? Because we had this issue with the one Commissioner Fay's
yeah,
district.
I don't know. He cited like 3 other businesses, bars that do operate in that time.
what were the bars that he cited? And sorry, Stephen, I missed yesterday's meeting. I know that you emailed me, but like I think I was confused. I think a lot of people might have missed yesterday's because it was right after Memorial Day, and typically ABR meets on the third Wednesday. So apologies for missing that. But what were the businesses that he cited?
Yeah, the businesses he cited were he said Amsterdam, Cloud, and YOLO.
That's
All
not so one cloud. I don't Cloud is in you is it in your SMD, Matthew? Or maybe it's in mine. No, I don't know where Cloud is. Amsterdam does not operate. They're not supposed to operate. They don't have those hours. And I can double check on if they have those hours. And then what was that other one that he said?
YOLO.
YOLO.
YOLO. Oh my God, don't get me started on YOLO. YOLO, there's a lot of issues with YOLO, and yeah, YOLO should not be operating with those hours if they are. So I can double check on Amsterdam, but I do know there have been complaints about Chicha. Specifically, I think it has been the speaker that they have on the outside. And so that is a big concern. If that's already a concern, like I don't think it is fair to have them operate like longer hours if there's already issues that they haven't resolved that people have brought to their attention. I think we should protest because it is a substantial change. Um, yeah, like I'm happy to if you can help me with this one. I think we also might need our attorney to help. Only because if he is citing other ones, like yeah, there might be something there, but I don't and I realize it's kind of hard because he's operating right on U Street. So it's not like it's not like it's right in the midst of a residential like part.
I mean, it's right across the street from the Ellington, though, isn't it?
Probably, but like I'm yes, like but I moved into the Ellington knowing that like
It
hey,
was U Street.
I'm moving on U Street. Like this is not a unknown thing that happens. I think it's already really loud. I will say like over the last like 3 Sundays, Space Lounge has been like I could feel the bass in my apartment. And again, I'm no stranger to this, so I'm struggling because like it's already loud. So it's like, okay, like we should, I don't know. I think we just need the attorney's help on this one.
Okay. What was your question on half smoke, real quick? It's in Francois' district, but it backs up onto mine, so I know my neighbors have raised concerns.
Oh, it wasn't a question. It closed yesterday. So we probably should, so they are opening, I think, somewhere in, I forget, maybe Anacostia, but like I would just reach out to them because we would look a little silly that we're protesting a business that is closed, that has closed as of yesterday. So we just want to verify that they're like fully closed and like packed up, before we protest something
Let's
that isn't there.
Yeah, let's do that. And I think one of the reasons that we'd push forward with the request for a protest is that they were originally supposed to close on the 19th, and they did not. And so as we spoke with folks who were smart about the deal, they said, well, it's kind of a wait and see right now. So now that I think they have officially packed up and moved out, let's reevaluate and we can reconsider our position next Thursday.
Yeah, I don't know if they've officially packed up. I just know that they've made the announcement like on their social media that their last day of service was yesterday.
I wonder if we'll go through the formality of withdrawing their application to ABCA, do you think?
So I don't know. Well, actually, probably, I don't know if they have to do anything because I think the license just maybe they have to, it just like, I don't know if it goes away, but someone
Now that the
just
real
get
Joe,
something
the real
on.
Joe Kaplan got their license renewed even though they were out of business. So it is one of those weird things where I feel like it would be good to see them withdraw their application so that it's not hanging out there as an orphan license.
I don't think it would be hanging out. I think either ABCA would put it, whether it's called, like, I think the technical term is safekeeping, or they just like kind of shelve it until like, so they keep their license, but then if someone wants to move into that space, they can then, that new person can purchase their license. Um, so that's what I don't think it would hang out, but like we couldn't protest because like we would be, they wouldn't, nothing would happen really, I
Sure.
think.
I guess the
can ask
committee was
Sarah and follow
concerned
up
that
with
there
her.
was in case that, I don't know, in a week they changed their mind and they're like, oh, we're going to stay open after all,
Yeah.
and we've dropped our protest, and we're going,
Yeah.
I think just in that small circumstance. Okay. Do we feel okay on ABCA matters?
Yeah, Commissioner Holden, or sorry, yeah, Holden
Oh,
has
sorry,
his
this
hand.
hand.
Yeah, just real quick. With amplified sound, like as you said, Cheech has a speaker outside. I haven't read enough of our settlement agreements, but is like amplified sound or speakers outside like kind of standard language we put into settlement agreements, or we could like think about doing that if we don't, just because I like, of course there's sound issues from inside the building, right, when they're like the bass and that stuff comes through, but like if they're playing sound outside, that seems like a no-brainer to try to like squash from the beginning.
Yeah, we typically do have it.
Yeah.
So if they have it outside, it's not
Violation,
really,
probably.
it's not allowed.
Okay,
So
all right. I just wanted to
yeah, it's just like an enforcement thing.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, and one thing, sorry, I know, Alan, you have something, but I wanted to say, just to reiterate that I am working on 1351 and so should have a draft, hopefully to commissioners tomorrow. If not, would have a draft by Thursday, and it's just our standard agreement.
Okay. Thank you, Alan. Your question?
Well, yeah, we discussed in regards to Thirst Lounge and what was approved last June. You said that we needed to bring it up again
It's
to
on
be
the
voted
agenda
back.
for later.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Matt, do you mind if I only ask you to do 60 seconds on the U Street Business Roundtable, though it was a glorious event?
We met. It was glorious. People were engaged.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a good turnout. So the goal of the U Street Business Roundtable was to bring together business leaders so that one, they could get to know each other a little bit better. Two, we could understand a little bit more about what their pressing issues were so that we could advocate more effectively with them. And third, to start the conversation about the future of U Street as it relates to a bid/NMA. We had about 16 to 18 businesses that showed up. People commented at the end that they thought it was a very useful forum. And I thought the true testament was that a number of people said, I'm going to invite people that I know and that I work with to come to the next one. So I thought it was good. We'll share more updates, but look for more on this.
Okay. Are you planning to speak about it on Thursday night or too soon?
Briefly, 60,
Okay.
60 seconds.
Wow. I'll hold you to it. Thank you. Business arising from, oh, you know what? Actually, Francois, do you want to, since it's technically a committee thing, do you want to talk quickly about the USAO resolution?
Yes, very quickly. As folks may have heard, Ed Martin's term expired and Trump decided to appoint a new interim U.S. Attorney, Janine Pirro. I think that it would be worthwhile to pass a very similar resolution to the one we passed last time, basically just calling for a confirmation hearing because this is such an important position. I think it's worthwhile for any nominee to have a real hearing where our representatives get a voice. So yeah, I can work on the language, but it would be very similar to what you've already seen.
You mean where other people's representatives get a voice? But yes, the point is taken.
Well, I was hoping we would still advocate for Ankit and others to actually be able to ask
Love
questions.
it. Okay. Thank you for letting us know. Mr. Fay, it's yours again. The resolution about the
Yeah,
parklet.
so I sent you a very detailed note today. So if you want a little bit more background, you've got the email and you've got the whole website to refer to. In brief, there is a new green space that was created by the S Street revitalization effort that DDOT implemented recently. There was a discussion about what should we name this park, and Councilmember Pinto's office called and said, "What if you call it the Harmony Park to honor both the Colombian Harmony Society and the Harmonian Cemetery, which was established between 1925 and 1829 and 1859 as one of the first African American burial grounds in the city. It was since relocated after the council passed a bill in 1856, requiring that there could be no cemeteries inside the old city boundaries. But there's been a long-standing discussion and desire to honor that. And so the council member really wanted to advance a bill in council that would name that space Harmony Park. The LaDroit Park Association and community really liked it. We thought it was a nice thing, especially given today's kind of climate. And so we wrote a resolution, and my understanding is that it will have a welcome reception with the council member's office. I spoke with Councilmember Nadeau as well, since the park is officially located in Ward 1, and she said that she would be more than happy to co-sponsor it with Councilmember Pinto. So if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. There's a ton of background and detail. Christian, I apologize I did not copy you on it, but I will send it to you separately so that you've got the background on it. Sorry, last and maybe very importantly, I did connect with Commissioner Holden on this because although it is not really a park, it is part of the Transportation and Streets Network. And just given the interest of the council member to advance this quickly and before everyone goes in recess, we agreed that this would be a single member district resolution rather than a committee resolution. Had we had more time, my preference would be to propose this to the committee and then for the committee to then present it to the commission.
Thank you. Thank you. Very decent of you. Francois, your SMD resolution about two of them, the illegal sign and the alley renamings.
Yes, lots of signs. So as you may or may not know, there's a sign on 9th Street. It's a large electronic sign that often portrays lewd images. Basically, neighbors are upset about this. DOB issued a notice of infraction saying the sign was illegal, but they need to pass it to the Office of Administrative Hearings to hear the case in order to actually get it removed. I think the business owner never showed up to something. I should know the exact term, but I'm not exactly sure. But basically, it's undisputed. The business owner has not disputed the case, but OAH still needs to hear the case and adjudicate. OAH is very backed up and seems to be poorly run, since this should be a very quick case, one would expect. Very open and shut. Should be able to bang these things out. I compare it to you go to a pizza shop and you just want a slice, but they're busy making everybody's large pies. So yeah, well, basically this is a resolution drafted by someone in the neighborhood. I agree, Miguel, that some of the language might be too strong, so we can tone some of that down. But I think it's important for us to take these sort of difficult stances, advocating for the neighborhood, saying that, it's not cool, it's not okay that it takes this long, that this is an illegal sign. This should get dealt with very fast and easily. And hopefully we can get some other commissions to sign on once we pass this. Obviously not the most urgent thing in the world that we're working on, but I still think it's very much worth doing. And Matt Fay and I have, Matt has done a lot of great work to try to explore other options in terms of getting the council member to intervene, other things, but we've just hit roadblocks everywhere we've gone. So yeah, that's that resolution. Then the alley renamings. There's some alleys over by Wiltberger and 7th Street. Basically, this guy in the neighborhood, John Shaw, is very interested in the history of the area. 2G passed a similar resolution to recommend renaming some other alleys in the area. I did some research on, what John Shaw had told me about these alley names. They all seem like great names, referencing local, businesses that were in the area, such as a bakery that used to produce, a massive amount of bread for all of DC, as well as the manager at the Howard Theater who's like very good friends with Duke Ellington, helped bring him to the area very often, and a lot of other, prominent musicians from that era. So, it seems like these are good people to honor, good businesses to honor. The council member recently passed and city council basically passed a bill to rename one of the alleys Legendary Musicians Way. So I would specify that we're not going to try to rename that alley, of course, because Councilmember Nadeau has already moved on that. But the other alleys, I think we can recommend. And Nadeau seemed, when I talked with her, she seemed interested in hearing what the proposals were and potentially adopting them as well. So we could actually get some things renamed this way.
Cool. Matthew, Transportation Committee members are not going to be angry that they didn't get to help pick new names.
I love it.
Good. Well, with his blessing, we can move on. Any questions? Anything else about that? Okay,
No,
doke.
sorry, the only thing I do want to say is just that to Francois first one, the Economic Development Committee did consider the resolution that Francois is putting forward. Our decision was to try to take different actions to try to advance things. Ultimately, the actions that we took did not result in any progress. And so the thought was, given that we've been unable to move it any other way, the resolution doesn't hurt. It's essentially saying, hey, we're dissatisfied with the process and we want to raise this as a potential concern. So it was not that we didn't appreciate or approve of it. It was more that we were trying to take some other actions. And it seems like those were not, they did not bear fruit.
Good. Which reminds me, I'm going to leave the rest of the time to talk about Thirst Lounge, which is very important. But speaking of things that we're unhappy that are taking too long, Christian, did you want to talk about the building collapse at all before the testimony tomorrow? Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of you are probably familiar with this. This is the ongoing V Street building collapse. There's a few folks from inside, both from 1B, but also from some of the surrounding ANCs who are very passionate about this. I think part of the problem is that the DOB has really been unresponsive, generally speaking, to us. The last time the chief of buildings interacted with the ANC, as far as I know, was when she came to the January meeting. We still don't have the report. We still don't have really any other information. There seems to be ongoing violations still happening, / posting of DOB stuff is not happening correctly. I'm not super familiar with all of the details of this, but I'm planning to testify at the hearing tomorrow, assuming that there's not 7,000 people in front of me. And depending on what the response is to that, I think it might be worth considering for the ANC to follow up that with a sort of more formal request or letter, basically saying, like, we've really been asking, so have a lot of other people, where is this report and what are we going to do about it? I know people have been in touch with the counselors' offices, and so I don't want to sort of step on toes or repeat anything. So before we do that, I would probably want to do some due diligence just to make sure that we're not double dipping on efforts, but that seems to be where we are.
It is Building Safety Month.
Ironically, yes, I did also, just after I read the email from this the member of the public, I did get the DOB Building Safety Month email. I was like, ironic.
Well, you can reply right to it.
Yeah.
Goodness. Okay. Thank you for letting us know. Keep us posted.
Christian, real quickly, I think that also we had in our first in-person meeting, there was we had Department of Buildings there, and they did say that they were going to come back to talk to us. I know that in our second in-person meeting, Commissioner Lemon Strauss, Treasurer Strauss, had said that he wanted to also have a conversation with them. I know that we brought DOB to the table, which was flagged because they thought I was doing it to trick them against the table. But point was, we were trying to get them just to talk in general about what they do. And I really think we should press along with this issue. I'm going to see what time I have tomorrow, but I have no issue making a statement tomorrow because I do think it's unacceptable. A human's life has been taken away from a family, and they've been just hiding under rocks like it's nothing. And we're gone on almost what, 4 months now. I mean, it's unacceptable. Period. That's it.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that the Chief of Staff, Alex Cross, did come to the April ZPD meeting, and he was helpful and provided lots of information, just not about the building collapse. So
understood.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let us know how it goes tomorrow. We can calibrate what we do next, but certainly fine to send a letter or several grumpy letters, and more than overdue. The rest of the time, Karen and Risa have let me know that they don't have anything big. If you have any inputs for the newsletter going out next week, get them over to Risa. We have some happy news about a few new businesses opening in the commission area and stuff like that. Anything on anyone else's radar, please submit soon so she can start formatting and putting that together. Rest of the time I'd like to spend talking about Thirst. Commissioner Kensick asked for it to be on the agenda. It's been on our agenda off and on. If you've been around for more than a few months, you've definitely heard of this. Thirst is a newer club on 14th Street, bar and lounge, and the neighbors immediately behind have had pretty consistent noise complaints. Since it opened, there are a lot of structural reasons for that. It has a retractable glass roof, which like you can't soundproof, et cetera, et cetera. Alan and I have been to visit the owners. The owners are like very willing to work with people. They've given their personal phone numbers to all the neighbors so they can text them and let them know when it's too loud. But it's like the problem persists. The neighbors find that it's always too loud. And Alan referred to a letter the commission adopted, a letter last year to the owners of Thirst, inviting them to sit down with us for a voluntary settlement agreement. After we adopted that letter, our internal decision was to not issue it, pending some conversations with the owners. Alan and I went there. We went back and forth, did a few things. But like I said, the problems are persisting. So from my perspective, having gone and knowing that, they're making an attempt, they're not like, outright a bad operator by any means. I don't know, and Alan, please speak to this too. We didn't have a lot of confidence that the letter would achieve anything. Obviously, there's no incentive for an operator currently licensed to enter into a voluntary settlement agreement, really like in exchange for nothing. They do have a renewal coming up. It's supposed to be this fall, so that's an opportunity. But, we don't want to tell the neighbors like, well, we'll wait 6 months without doing anything. So the question that Alan raised was, do we want to issue that letter and see if it goes anywhere? I was hoping to speak to Director Musali in advance of this and just sort of get his read top to bottom on what's a good strategy. I also admit I've never really understood from them how many times they've sent inspectors. Have they taken noise readings? What were the results of those visits? I just don't have a clear order of operations here, and we've never gotten that. There's a whole matter now before the OAG about Thirst, so it's kind of spiraling in a lot of directions. Alan, was it a fair characterization? Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think it's very fair, Chair. The bottom line is the person that was the biggest complainer actually moved. She left the area because of it, moved down to T, and now she's in Ward 2 because of this establishment. They opened in the 2023 of December. We brought them on the call several times. They never were in part of any type of agreement because they took on an old Japanese restaurant, which did sushi, so the place could handle noise. There wasn't really much noise coming from the place. They do, when I text them almost every weekend, they will lower the music, and then typically around 10 p.m., I just continue to get more complaints, emails. There's about, at this point, 15 different people. I forwarded you, Chair, the other day, and I quoted exactly what Musali said. I'm not sure if I did the entire commission or not, but he basically said that they're at the highest fines at this point, meaning they've paid the 250s, they now are up to the thousands, and he's saying that there's now like we have to like really approach this differently. He did say we need to, and this was coming from Director Musali, and by all means, please give him a call. He's actually returned my call that Monday 8:30 in the morning, which was awesome when I asked him to, that he said that we should absolutely protest their upcoming September without doubt. And he also said that we should move to put something in on record, and if we can get them into a settlement agreement to do so. But I know, like hearing from Vice Chair Harris in the past, it's difficult sometimes to get someone, as you just stated, to agree to it. I know if I was, I probably wouldn't agree to it and I would just wait. But I think that to the fairness of the constituents that are in both mine and also your SMD 1B06, these are where the complaints are getting, most calls and are being directed from. I have walked the establishment like later at night, and I do think that they're trying their best, again, with the music and having the retractable roof that really you can't soundproof. So it's going to be constant, and with summer approaching and World Pride, we understand that's gonna happen. It's part of life. It's gonna be great. But the concerns are the fact that there's a family with a newborn that had to move out of their house of 3 years. That's alarming. It's not just okay, well, it's just one person, so this has been like I said, an ongoing thing, and it's been nonstop. And I'm trying. I really do think, like you said, the owners are very good people. I don't think they mean any harm. They're just trying to make business, but their music does precede the over 51 or 55 decibel reading. There's many occasions that they've gone out and they've, meaning the proper authorities have gone out, they've done their decibel readings and it's been calibrated. Most Sally's aware of it. The people that moved had an attorney for a while. So this is all gone through, and that's why it's now being brought to the OAG. But it's getting to the point where it's like, I really don't know what else we can do. And I try to field the questions and respond back to anybody that reaches out, because there's a group email of about, I think, 12 or 14 people, again, in between your and my SMD, that have verbally have gone and said this is like getting crazy. They'll answer the call like the first couple times and then they go silent again. So it's very inconsistent. But what is consistent is their noise, and I don't know how else to really control it or help them control it. There's things I've looked at with the mayor's office, with Mendelson's office, with ONAC, in terms of funds, on anything that we could do to help fund them or raise funds for them. And really every office, and including the mayor's office and Councilmember Nadeau's office, has said, no, that's not really anything we can do about it. You have to speak with the OAG, or you have to speak with Director Musali. So it's kind of like just been spinning wheels since June. And then we went there in December, Chair, and after our meeting at your beautiful apartment, and they again, we talked for several hours with them. It just hasn't really gone anywhere, and it's 6 months later and we're still getting the same complaints that we were getting from June when we were ready to, and we agreed upon that letter. So I don't think that the letters really, I know if them, they were not going to agree with it, but I feel, to your point, your last statement of, if we just say, we'll wait till September, I don't know if that's also going to be really a good look on 1B. That's all I have.
Just to let you know, I'm Sable, I'm coming to you in a second. I did talk to Salima, who's the number one at Monk now. I really want them to be more involved. They haven't been, right? It's been kind of us and ABCA, and now OAG is involved over there too. I mean, statutorily, Monk is created as, I mean, it's written into law. They are the primary forum for conflicts between neighbors and operators. And, I don't want that to be passing the buck. I understand for the neighbors, like, God, if we say, you have to go to this agency one more time, I mean, they might just set their hair on fire. But, Monk should have, if they don't, I mean, they need to have resources to do some kind of mediation in these situations. We are not equipped to do that. Even if we get a settlement agreement with them, how do we enforce that thing? That's our constant question. So, Sable, did you want to shed any wisdom on the situation, and especially about the letter, if you think mechanically that's useful in some way?
I think we just probably want to be aware of the optics of it. I totally hear you, Alan, of making sure that, we are taking care of the constituents involved. And I know, I mean, I was on the phone with Annie and talked with her at length. I've seen the emails, but we are kind of next week is the kickoff, or I mean, it might be next week and some change, the kickoff for World Pride. And this is an LGBTQIA plus establishment. And so I'm just hyper aware of, I, I don't know. I think I get it. It's like kind of a tricky thing to navigate, but I just think, I don't know. I think I wouldn't, and not that I don't support the letter because I did vote for that. I just don't think I would support sending it next week when I would imagine that this is going to be a very busy time for them. And I wouldn't want them to think that we don't support them in this in World Pride. So I think we just need to be aware of that. And I realize that's like punting it to the next month, but I think we should absolutely be conscious of this. It's, again, it's World Pride. It's a really, really, really big
Yeah.
deal. And I think we should be as supportive as possible. And I think this might take away from that.
Let me ask you, and everybody, anyone can weigh in as a sort of final note. Since we know the letter is basically going to have no effect, um, and is there anything else on the toolkit that we should be thinking? This is essentially what I wanted to ask Director Musali. Like, are there other things that we can do from our position? Is there anything else in our toolkit aside from waiting for the renewal?
I think, and I think we're doing all of the right things. Like I think Alan is texting kind of and has like an open door with the owners. I think that is really the right channel.
Yeah.
Um,
And I agree with you, actually, Vice Chair. I do think the optics look terrible, and we're welcoming of being the capital of the world this year, of enjoying Pride. I don't think it would be a proper time to send something because that's this is obviously we're having everyone from the country all over the world come here, and it's exciting time. So I do agree that at this point, I don't think the letter right now would be appropriate. Maybe after this month, we monitor it again. I mean, it will be in July by then, and see, and then maybe revisit this conversation, and just keep a note and duly note that we have to really look to protest in September, in general.
Matt, go ahead.
I mean, it sounds like there's two things that you're trying to solve for, right? One is you're trying to solve the problem. And then the second is that you're trying to demonstrate to the community that you're not waiting until September. And Vice Chair Harris, you've got the most experience, I think, in all of this. Is there a value in approaching Thirst after World Pride and essentially working with them to pre-negotiate a settlement agreement, essentially saying, look, we can avoid a protest if we can work to establish an agreement. And that should helpfully fast track their renewal without a protest and for you to be able to demonstrate to the community that you're taking action, but still having out there the leverage that if you don't reach agreement, you've got a protest in your bag.
Yeah, I would say though, you want to be careful about that, and we want to be very, very careful in however we word that because that, is grounds for them to get the protest if we get to that point dismissed. So even though the ABCA board very much encourages settlement agreements, the grounds for protest couldn't be because we want a settlement agreement. Um, like it would have to be because like of peace, order, quiet, whatever it is. So I would
Right.
say we
But
have
there's no problem with doing it in advance of
there's no
this
problem
far in
doing it in
advance.
advance. I would just say be very, very careful whatever you put in writing. And I would say just like word it saying like we really want to reach an agreement because we know how valuable your establishment is to the community and we want you here. We just want it to be harmonious. So I think I would word it that way. The other thing I think that could help, at least maybe provide not even a band-aid, but just a layer of transparency, is this could be like an outreach, Alan, to ask like, hey, what are the events that you have planned like for World Pride? And this is something that I think, Stephen, like we should be asking all of the establishments around and also figure out like what the extended hour permits are and things that are granted. I don't think there's anything in front of us because we didn't see anything, but I would just ask for that so we know if there's any extended hours on these establishments and if Thirst has done that, at least we can give a calendar or something to the community and say, hey, this is a heads up when it might be a little bit louder than normal, even though I guess it's loud all the time. But
And real quick, Chair, I'm sorry, and Vice Chair, that's a really valid point. I didn't even realize a person I recently met was showing me all these new places besides Bunker, the place Eagle right next door. And then if you go on to 14th Street, like going actually, yeah, up 14th Street, right to the right, where there used to be just a lounge, but it has 3 floors and it also has outdoor. They just opened another gay place there as well. So you're right, that area in general, it's probably a good ask just in general, just to work. And the community should be very understanding of this, of course, too. But I think it's really smart if we do as much, what we can do in letting the community be aware of any extended hours or anything else like that, because there is a couple I didn't even know that were even popped up, Sorry, thank you.
Stephen, if you are able to put that together and get it in the newsletter next week, it'd be a good community service. I think it's a good idea. Thank you, Sable. Matthew, do you want to have the
What was
final?
What was that again? I asked for
If there are extended hours or other things going on for Pride that we want to tuck in the
list every
newsletter.
gay bar in on the U Street corridor.
Not all their events, because there's a spreadsheet of those and it's far too intense. But yeah, if there's anywhere that has extended hours, just so it's atypical, just to let the community know.
Okay, I got it.
In a joyful way. Matthew, final comment?
No, I think the discussion, I agree with all the major points, and what I was going to say kind of got covered. So I think I'm good.
Okay, Alan, let's touch base on that. I think it's smart to look at the essay well in advance, and that shows some, commitment and progress on our part, and then that really is literally the one thing that we can actually do. I'll let you know when I hear back from Salima, because not in terms of negotiating the essay, strictly speaking, but it would be nice to have them, I think, in the conversation, just since they are mandated to play that role.
they can also help mediate, because that's the one thing, is that at least when it is in the schedule, we have ABCA to help mediate the settlement agreements, but there isn't that party if you're doing it off schedule.
Has anyone done a hard look at the Sound Mitigation Act that the council's passed? I'm just curious.
Oh, for the residential buildings, right?
Yeah, but I thought there were other provisions in there. It just seems like ABCA is saying, yeah, we know things aren't great right now, but this bill's going to make things better.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is that it's the enforcement side, and there's likely not going to be anything in the budget to increase the amount of agents and investigators. So that, I think, the sound side isn't going to take any effect, at least over the short term. The investigators would. So we might want to consider asking Councilmember Nadeau what those efforts are next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Got through a big agenda. Much appreciated. And see you all on Thursday.
Adjourning at 7:09.
Thank you.